They'll pretty much do whatever it takes to get emotion out of you. And also, they got in trouble for this recently, but the alcohol around there flows like water.
Right.
You can have as much as you want at any given time. And they don't say, hey, stop drinking or whatever. They obviously want you to get as drunk as possible, because then you say stupid stuff on air.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they know everything about you, so they can kind of poke at you and say things to start bringing out that emotion.
Welcome into the podcast, episode 12 of Livin Large. Guys, you can get exclusive access to Livin Large on the app Castbox. If you guys are watching on my YouTube right now, I'm holding up the mug. I post it there every morning on Wednesdays at 6 a.m. PST first. So just head over to the App Store and download Castbox and hit that subscribe button. Damn it. Today's guest, some girls may recognize him from The Bachelor, Robert Graham. Welcome onto the show.
Hey, what's going on?
Not too much, man. We became friends this year.
Yeah.
Through Coachella.
Yep.
What a way to become friends.
Yeah, that was a fun one this year.
Yeah, but before that, let's talk about your journey. You were on The Bachelor, bro.
I was on the Bachelorette.
Oh, The Bachelorette. So that means you were in a pool of guys trying to fall for this girl. Who was the girl?
Yeah, I was one of 25. Her name was Desiree.
What up, Desiree? How you doing? You could have been with this man, but you chose not to be.
She's actually married with a couple kids now, so I think.
Sorry about that, Desiree. So what was that like?
It was cool, man. I was living in LA. I just broken up with my girlfriend, and my best friend from back home's girlfriend was obsessed with the show. And
all girls are.
Yeah, as all girls
Yeah.
are. I mean, my stats on Instagram are still like 95% female. It's crazy. But she reached out and she said, hey, I gotta submit you for the show. And I had never honestly seen the show. I knew what it was, obviously, because everybody kind of knows what it is. But, I just said, sure, yeah, go ahead. There's probably tens of thousands of people getting submitted to this thing every single day. So I wasn't really expecting much. Long story short, they called me in. I went through the first interview, didn't hear anything for like 2.5 months. So I just assumed that.
Yeah, it fell through.
Yeah, it fell through. It wasn't going to happen. And then they called me back and said, hey, we're really sorry. We got you very early on in the casting process, but want you to come back in. And the casting process is crazy. I don't know if you're familiar, but you have to go in for 5 interviews. They do these things where they bring you into a room and all the producers are sitting there and they don't tell you there's like 30 people in the room and they just fire questions at you.
Jesus.
Yeah, want to make you really uncomfortable really quickly. And then you have to talk to psychologists. You have to get your blood work done to make sure that you don't have any diseases.
What?
Yeah, they do a full background check on you. It's wild, man.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's a long process. And then they called me and said, hey, we'd like you to be on the show, and that was it. I accepted, and I had a really, really crazy, awkward experience actually on the first episode of that show.
Why? What happened? You get some drama?
No, this is wild, man. So we're in a hotel room. They stick you in a hotel room for like 3 days before you go on the show, because they want you to just be isolated and be thinking only about that. So I'm sitting in this hotel room for 3 days. I'm getting excited. I'm like, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna have this opportunity to meet this girl.
Which we'll get into. I have so many questions about this.
Yeah, and like you go on understanding that, hey, listen, there's a very slim shot that we're probably going to work out or get along, but still it'll probably be a cool experience, get to travel around the world, et cetera, et cetera. So anyways, I'm in the limo on the way to the house after this 3-day stint in the hotel room, and we're taking a couple shots in the limo. And
with a bunch of other dudes, or just you?
5 other guys.
Okay.
5 other guys in the limo.
You're about to meet her for the first time.
First time, yeah.
Okay.
So you pull up to the house, they prep you. She's standing there. There's cranes, lights everywhere, producers.
Full production.
Full production. I mean, no joke. I'm in the limo shaking.
And they haven't filmed you up to this point?
No, this is the first time you're being filmed.
With lots of fucking pressure.
Lots of pressure. I mean, you get out and you're like, shit, this is crazy, because there's lights and people everywhere. And she's standing there. She's super nervous too. I mean, all the attention's on her.
Right.
So anyways, the first 4 guys walk out. I'm the last guy to walk out of the limo. And I start walking up to her, and she looks at me and she goes, hey, I know you.
What? And
I stop and I'm like, I don't think so. And she's like, no, I definitely know you. You're Robert. And I go, this is awkward. And I'm like, how do you know me? And she was like, you dated my best friend, Jessica. Stop. I swear to you, it's the worst case scenario that could ever happen on this show. And
wait, she says this on live TV?
On live, like as I'm walking up to her, like halfway there, she's like, you dated, she says, I know you halfway there. And I get up, and the producers are all looking around like, what's going on? I have no idea what's happening. And I didn't know what was happening. I'm like, Jessica. And so what happened was when I moved to LA, like 2 years prior, I went to this charity event, and these two girls approached our table and started talking to me and my friend. One of the girls was Desiree, and the other girl was this girl, Jessica. Jessica and I exchanged numbers. We went out a couple of times, and she ended up moving over to Miami. And I hadn't seen her in, like a year. But I didn't remember the encounter that night, meeting Desiree.
Right, it was
and
just a couple dates.
Yeah, it was like a couple dates. It wasn't really a big thing. But I think she got a little pissed off that I didn't remember who she was, and that I dated her roommate and best friend, and didn't really piece those two things together. So
off to a terrible start.
Dude, I went into the house, and all the guys are sitting there drinking, having a great time, excited, and I sit on the couch, and I put my hands in my head, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Just the odds of this happening, that this girl got cast.
Has that ever happened before?
No, the producers were just like, this has never happened before, where a guy didn't remember meeting the lead prior to going on the show. And you have to think about it, the odds of that happening, her getting cast for The Bachelor, going through that whole process, getting cast as the Bachelorette, my friend submitting me for that season, not knowing that this girl is even on the show, and then me walking up to her a year later, and she's like, hey, I met you, and you dated my best friend.
I feel like it's such a slap in the face for her, because it's like she remembered you.
Yeah.
So she's like, you're like, obviously, yeah, I stood out to you.
Yeah.
But like, you didn't remember her, so she was probably like, fuck this guy off the bat.
She was so pissed. She kept me around for a couple episodes, but I mean, I knew right from there that it was not going to be a good thing.
That's very interesting, because to me, I would have kept you around if it were me, because I knew you.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I knew you already, so it was like a little more comfortable, like, oh, I'll keep him around, so like if I ever feel uncomfortable, like I'll just chill with Robert.
I know. It was interesting. And what was even more interesting is I was freaking out when they were about to air the season, because they don't tell you what's going to be on the show. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking episode 1's going to be a disaster. Like, they're going to show everything. They cut it all. They didn't show any of it. Yeah.
Why? That's so good.
So one of the producers, I asked her a month or two later, and she said that the reason that they cut it was they didn't want to portray the most eligible girl or the Bachelorette in the country at the time as being forgettable. So that was kind of
exactly what I just said.
Right. Yeah. That was kind of the reasoning. They didn't want her to think that, this guy had met her and just forgot who she was. And so that was the reason that they cut it. But,
that's such a funny story, though.
It was the worst. I was I just was sitting there like, how did this happen? Like, the odds are like 1 in 100 million of me going on the show. And
is she from LA?
She was from like Seattle or somewhere.
And she just lived in LA?
She was in LA for a brief period of time. And I think was, just like working out here and got cast on the show, and one thing led to another, and we ran into each other when I was walking out of the limo.
Shout out Desiree. Sorry about that. Wow.
Brutal.
That's a great start to this podcast, though.
Yeah,
I love that story, because I was like, I was into it. Yeah. Maybe this is why girls like The Bachelor, because shit like this goes down.
It was crazy, man.
Tell me about that process. Do you guys get paid, first of all, to be on there?
So the first show that you do when you go on to The Bachelor or Bachelorette, you do not get paid. But then with the summer show that they have now, which is Bachelor in Paradise, I actually did season 1 of that, and they paid us per episode of that.
Okay, so to meet Desiree, you don't get paid at all. None of you
guys.
Don't
get paid at all. No.
So here's my question. And I know someone that was on The Bachelor, a girl, and when I spoke to her about this, because I was so interested in the show, because like for me, it's like you gamify love.
Yeah.
Like you don't just do that. Like who in their right mind, 25 guys are going to compete for this girl that they've never even met before.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
It's crazy. But the funny thing about it is I know people go on, obviously with the social media stuff and everything going on in that world right now, there's a huge opportunity to make a lot of money.
Right.
But if you look at the past seasons, and I went in with the same thoughts, I was like, there's a 1 in a million chance I'm going to get along with this girl well enough to where we end up together and are married and engaged. But if you look at the past 3 or 4 seasons, there's couples that come off that show, and I think like 80% of them have kids and are married, and
it's just, it's mind-boggling.
But you want to know why? And this is my personal opinion. There's going to be a lot of people that disagree with this. With the social media stuff now, you can make so much money as a couple, because this audience is fanatical. I mean, they're crazy about watching this dream scenario, this love scenario unfold, and then when you do get off the show, if you stay together, they just follow. Like they're wild. Like they are very dedicated to that. So these couples that end up together after the show, they make a ton of money on social media being together. So there's an incentive to kind of stay together.
It becomes
a
business,
right?
Too.
And I think they get to know each other a little bit more through that. And, you know, I know a couple of the couples now personally really, really well, and they are fully in love with each other. But I think it takes time, because you're not going to figure that out in 6 weeks on this show.
Right.
Producers everywhere. Like, you have to go into the real world and figure this out. And now with the social media craze that's going on, they can come off the show and make huge amounts of money, travel the world, have this amazing lifestyle. And it's just this really nice setup that you get if you go all the way.
It's just so far-fetched to me, because how can you do the producers, do they cast you, or do they cast people based on who they think she would like?
So they cast people based on who they think she would like, but also it's a TV show, right? So they have to cast the really drunk guy on night one. They have to cast the guys that are going to be starting shit with the other guys in the house. You know, they have to cast the 3 or 4 or 5 guys that they think are actually going to end up or have a chance with this girl. And it happens every season. If you watch the show, every single season is identical. I mean, all the same stuff
plots,
typically unravels. It's just new people, so they know what they're doing in the casting process.
Are the casters like matchmakers, like professional matchmakers, or are they just literally casting directors?
Honestly, I think they're casting directors, and they have it down to such a science now. They know everything about you. You have to take like a 4-hour written test and answer a million different questions. So they know everything about you, and then with the background checks and talking to the psychologists and really digging deep into your past and into your life, they know if you like to drink, if you're out of control, like if you've had past relationships. They know all this stuff going in. So,
but they don't know if you've met the Bachelorette.
That's the one thing they don't know, is if you met her a year earlier
and dated her best friend. Dude, that's absolutely insane. I don't know. The only thing I can't really like get is like, why would I want to compete with these dudes for this girl?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in all honesty, if I'm being truthful again, I think a lot of the people that they cast from around the country are probably looking for an experience of some sort.
Yeah.
You know, they're maybe working 9-to-5s or, you know, doing whatever it is they're doing back home, and this is an opportunity for them to go and experience something that they've never experienced before. I mean, you travel all over the world. You know, there's obviously huge opportunities after you get off if you do well. So I think, you know, in the early stages of this show, it was a little bit different. You know, they got the publicity and you know, attention, but there wasn't this whole social media craze after. It kind of just died off really quickly. So now, you know, I think it's a wider.
It's definitely changed with social media being in the game. Dude, because
it's a total game changer.
If you get on The Bachelor now, you can become famous. You can make a career out of this. Mm-hmm. But was social media even big when you were on it?
So I kind of hit the end of that era. Right when I got off was when social media was starting to become a thing. So nobody was on social media making any real money. You know, 4 or 5 years ago, they were like Kim Kardashian was doing brand deals on Twitter.
Right.
But there was no Instagram and YouTube platforms with influencers where they were making content and making, you know, a ton of money.
So you made a good point. A lot of people like looking for the experience. They're like with the 9-to-5 jobs.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a good story. It's like, oh, he's a trash can, or he's a garbage man. Exactly. He's on The Bachelor trying to get this beautiful girl. Mm-hmm. What did your occupation say when you were on there?
So this is another crazy story. I was in college, and my friends from San Diego started a sign spinning company called Arrow Advertising. And I brought it over to Arizona, and we were kind of the inventors of sign spinning. We actually opened up like 20
sign spinning.
Yeah, have you seen the guys that spin the signs on the corners?
Like at Quiznos, they're like, "Hey, subs this way."
Yeah, kind of. But we turned it into an actual business. So we had spin instructors, we had classes. We would bring them out to parks and teach them all these crazy tricks.
Is this real life?
This is real life. It's called Arrow Advertising. Look it up. It's crazy. We franchised the company, and we're in like 28 states and like 19 countries.
To teach people how to spin a sign on their hand.
Yeah, man. Teach people how to spin a sign.
Wow.
It's wild.
So what did your occupation say?
I think it said
advertiser?
Inventor of sign spinning.
No.
I swear to you. I swear.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy.
What was the most difficult thing being on the show?
I mean, walking up and knowing the girl that you're supposed to fall in love with.
I understand that, but like
pretty difficult.
With other dudes, was it real drama or was it stage drama?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, they edit kind of how they want the story to unfold.
They manipulate in the edit.
Yeah, so you can be sitting there, like you and I could be having a conversation and we're talking about anything, and I say, man, that sucks, and they'll take that little snippet and plug it into something else or ask you a million questions the same way until they get the right response. So for example, like if John was out on a date with Desiree, they'd sit me down and go, hey Robert, what do you think about John being on a date with Desiree? And you're like, oh, John's cool, you know, good guy. And they're like, really? You're okay with this guy dating the girl that you're trying to be with? And you're like, yeah, he's, you know, it's fine, whatever. And they're like, huh, that's not what he said about you. And you're like, oh really? And that they just ask you like a million questions until you're like John sucks. You know, he's the worst. So
I heard something from someone else that it was similar to what you just said, how they'll just like take a response from something else and then splice it in.
Mm-hmm.
But they would, since they do these extensive background checks, they would bring up shit that they knew would make you cry.
Oh, yeah.
So if they wanted you to cry, they'd be like, so like, did it suck for you? You weren't there when your grandpa died?
Yeah.
And like, they make you feel bad about your life.
Yeah, I mean, they'll pretty much do whatever it takes to get emotion out of you. And also, they got in trouble for this recently, but the alcohol around there flows like water.
Right,
I mean,
right.
You can have as much as you want at any given time. And they don't say, hey, you know, stop drinking or whatever. They obviously want you to get as drunk as possible because then you say stupid stuff on air.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they know everything about you, so they can kind of poke at you and say things to start bringing out that emotion.
Wow. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
If you guys are fans of The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, it's a show. It's a game.
Yeah.
It's so crazy because it's like a diehard fandom. Like my mom watches that shit. My sister, like my whole family, they just love it.
It's unreal. When I got off the show, I was with my friend Graham, who was also on the show with me, the second one that we did, and we got booked for this appearance up in Canada. And it was the first time that I had been booked on, you know, an appearance to show up. And I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, why am I getting brought up here for this? And he's like, just wait. And we get up to this, we pull up to this like club that they had rented out for the appearance. And there was 4 of us. And we got out, and Canada is a huge fan base of the show. We got out and there was 300 girls freaking out, I mean, crying, screaming out front of this place, just waiting for us to walk past. And then when we went inside, it was I mean, like 500, 600 people that they had sold tickets to come just like hang out with us. And in that moment, I was like, man, this is wild. This show has such a crazy fan base.
Yo, guys, I interrupt this podcast to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Vistaprint. Shout out to Vistaprint, guys. They actually printed the mugs that we use and also my business cards. There's something really cool about handing someone a business card when you meet them. And Vistaprint and I are hooking you guys up with $9.99 business cards, 500 of them if you guys use the code LARGE at Vistaprint.com. That's $9.99 for 500 business cards. You guys can make your own designs. You can have them make the designs for you. It's super, super simple. You can pick the paper. And the cool thing about Vistaprint, guys, is they use one of the best inks and they use the best stock. You can pick any kind of stock that you want to have on your business card. I think it's really cool to have a business card because it's something tangible. It's something you can give someone on first meeting them rather than putting in their phone and they forget it. You just give them that business card. They throw it in their wallet and it speaks a lot about a person. It shows that you're professional. I myself use business cards for Livin Large when I meet people and I say, hey, yo, you should be on my podcast. Here's my business card. That's how I've gotten a few of my guests actually. As I mentioned, you guys can upload your own design or start with one of the professionally designed options. There's simple tools and wide range of templates to choose from. You can pick the paper stock, the style, the quantity that's right for you. Choose your delivery speed, order and receive your card in as few as 3 days. Your satisfaction 100% guaranteed, or they'll make it right either by reprinting your stock or you can get a refund from them. So yeah, guys, that's right. Vistaprint wants you to do something great for your business right now, which is why our listeners will get up to 500 high-quality custom business cards starting at $9.99. Use that code LARGE at Vistaprint.com. That's code LARGE at Vistaprint.com. LARGE at Vistaprint.com. Get your money, baby. But before that, you said you were into the sign spinning. You went to college. What did you go to college for?
I went to school for business. I went to the business school at Arizona State.
Okay, so you went into sign spinning, then you did the Bachelor. After the Bachelor, that opened a little more opportunities for you with social media. So you started Vamped. What is Vamped?
Yeah, Vamped. So Vamped is a advertising agency. We work actually exclusively on social media. And we have a talent management side of the company where we manage people that are on social media. You know, some of them like Mads, who's a DJ and social media talent. And then we focus really heavily on brand work. So we just do a lot of branded stuff and a lot of travel and tourism. So we work with hotel groups and tourism boards, which is kind of an interesting thing now that social media is so huge. We've really leveraged that to be able to travel around the world and go to these crazy exotic places and bring a ton of people and really great content creators and stay in these 5-star resorts and work with these tourism boards to shoot unbelievable content from like helicopters and
so how does this work? How does the company itself make money in the sense of like you're giving you give them brand deals, or you get these free trips, you get in these resorts. You're obviously not paying for it, but how is the company itself making money?
Yeah, so basically the way it works is our company the brands and companies that we work with rely on us to book and shoot their campaigns. So we do a lot of content creation. We do a lot of short form content, commercial content. And then we work with everybody across social media. So if a brand like Boohoo, for instance, who's a women's fashion line, wants to do a trip to Las Vegas and book out 8 social media talents and have 2 Instagram posts, 2 Instagram stories with swipe ups, 15-second, 30-second video cut. We book all of that. We set up the trip. Logistics are all taken care of by us. We do the shoots on site and deliver them the content. And typically the way we do it is on a monthly basis. So we just work with a lot of different clients in that space and shoot all their content, book a lot of their talent, do all of their social media posts, and handle all of that stuff for
So you're
them.
curating. So Boohoo doesn't have to say, hey, I want this influencer. They just reach out to you. Hey guys, we have this budget. Take these people to this trip, promote our product. Is that how it works essentially?
Yeah, and it's not only trips. We do a lot of stuff locally, but that's kind of how it works for the trip side of the business.
And last week on the show, I had Ayla on. She's been on some trips. I've been on a trip to Coachella.
Yeah.
How do you reach out as a company to brands and say, hey, we want to do this? Would be great to have your brand attached, or is it more so brands reach out to Vamped then curates what they want?
A little bit of both. So we have some pretty big clients that we've been working with for years that we just have on a retainer, and then we do reach out to a lot of different brands. Our account management team reaches out to brands and just tries to bring new clients on board on a pretty consistent basis. So yeah, a little bit of both, but I would say we focus mainly on like the bigger people that we've been working with for years.
How would you say the industry has shifted since The Bachelor into social media, into the Vamped world?
Man, it's wild. It was one of those things where we didn't really know what we were getting into 4 or 5 years ago when we started the company, and didn't know where it was going to go. We just kind of had a hunch that the social landscape was going to grow, but I didn't really foresee it getting to the point that it's at now, because a lot of these rates and a lot of things that are happening on social media are really, really high, but it makes sense, in my opinion, for certain brands to work with certain individuals that are getting, like yourself, millions of views on your videos, which is outperforming most of the TV shows.
Right.
You're engaged with your audience, who is highly curated. You know where they're located, their age groups, their genders, all that stuff is on your back end and your analytics. So it makes sense to me, and the way that the platforms have grown, YouTube and Instagram, it's just become this marketplace and this platform for really good content creators to kind of rise to the top. And I think everybody else there's a million different influencers out there now, but I think a lot of the other people are kind of falling by the wayside, and the real people are growing and are going to continue to grow. But it's going to be interesting, man. Like, I don't know what the next platform is. The guys that founded Instagram just left, so
right.
It'll be interesting.
There's been some issues with Instagram going on lately with algorithms and people.
That's all I hear.
Yeah. It's very stressful.
It's crazy. I mean, it's people's livelihoods and business.
Yeah, and it's controlled by an application which you can't control. So it's very frustrating obviously I've had my own struggles, and like I talk to people in the industry and they're all dealing with the same shit right now. Algorithms. That's just all you ever hear. What's been the biggest struggle, I would say, in your life?
In my life?
In terms of business.
Man.
In terms of entrepreneurialism, social media, Bachelor, whatever.
There's been a couple struggles, man. I've always been kind of on the entrepreneurial side, where I've wanted to start and grow my own businesses, and there's been a lot, not a lot, but there's been a few pretty big failures in that. I opened up a restaurant in Arizona shortly after I graduated from college. Ran that for about a year, lost a ton of money, had no idea what I was doing in that space. I wasn't in the food space. I just figured I could hire a bunch of people and they would run it for me. So that was a catastrophe.
Well, what did you learn? What was your learning experience there?
I think the learning experience there was to not rush into something just because you think you have a great idea.
It's interesting. I've always said in my head, like, why don't I just use my money and open up a restaurant? That's easy as fuck.
Worst idea ever.
Why?
Just because, if you look at the statistics, when you open up a restaurant or a bar, I think the failure rate's at like 96%. And the reason for that is because people look at this industry and they think, okay, I see these bars and these restaurants that are cranking and they're doing really, really well. But you have to be an owner-operator, for one. When you're starting your own restaurant from the get-go, you're going to have to be there like 16 hours a day, 7 days a week if you want it to go. I didn't factor in like food, spoiling, deliveries, employees, stealing, all this stuff factors into your bottom line. So, and it's just really stressful. There's a huge turnover, like a really high turnover rate with people working for you. If they're not happy, if they get a better offer, if there's something else going on, they kind of just leave and take another position. So there was just a lot of growing pains in that. And at the end of the day, I didn't want to sit in a restaurant for 15 hours a day for the next 5 years. So I just kind of took my losses on that one and left. But if I were to do it all over again, I would probably just invest in somebody that has done it and proven their model to work, with multiple restaurants and do it that way rather than trying to go in and do it all on my own. But I just think do your research, man. Like you have to understand the business inside and out, and you have to be prepared to do what it takes to make it work. And if you're not, it's for sure going to fail.
What was another failure after that one you said?
So I also started a Swimline, which was sort of recent. It was a few years ago. And in that one I did my research on, and I just made a couple mistakes. One of the mistakes that I regret is I was outsourcing everything in China, like all the materials in China, like everybody else does, from the beginning. But it was when the social media stuff was really going crazy. We had some really big wins with some other products that we'd been working with and working on. So I wanted to start our own thing that we owned 100% of and work with the same people that were having these massive wins. And we decided to make our clothing inside of the United States in LA, which quadrupled our costs.
Right.
In all honesty, like the Chinese turned around the product much faster. The product was the same quality, so we should have went that route. We decided to do it in LA because we thought it would have a cool spin and cool pitch.
I mean, absolutely. I think that's cool too. Made in the USA, buy in the USA, whatever.
Yeah, I think it is too. But at the end of the day, it proved not to really matter. So we did that, and I just spent too much on advertising, and these people that I thought were going to convert really, really well for other products did not convert as well for this specific product. So that was another one. We didn't lose huge on that one, but it was one of those things that it was going to take a long time to kind of correct and fix and grow. And we had just so many other things going on with the business that we decided to let it go. And that's another thing, man. I think just focusing on one thing, if you're going to open up a business or start something, I think really just focusing all of your time and effort in on that and making sure it's great rather than trying to do like 4 things at once, which is something I've done a couple different times. And I think the reason that specific product, didn't take off or didn't do as well as it could have.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest difficulties is I have my eggs in so many baskets. Mm-hmm. I do YouTube videos, I do my podcasts, I do music, I do Facebook, Instagram. Like I'm just in a lot of baskets right now, and it's difficult, and it's like, but in your world, how did you handle those failures? Were you down? Were you?
Yeah, I mean, I was bummed. Like after the restaurant, I was actually kind of relieved on that one because I did not want to sit there anymore, and I was willing to take my losses and just move on. But with the Swimline, we had really built an incredible website. We shot an amazing amount of content for it, had really great people working with us, had all the pieces in place to make it a really cool brand. It was just a couple minor mistakes that I had made personally that sunk it. So that one, it still bothers me to this day, and this was years ago. But that one was one of those things where I had to take some time and just reflect and understand why I made some of the choices I made. And I feel like I got pushed in those directions by other people, and I should have just went with my gut and said, okay, I'm not listening to you. I'm going to make these swimsuits out of China, at least to start, and cut our costs, by like 75%. And I think we tried to rush getting them out a little earlier than we should have. There's just some things that I didn't go with my gut and I didn't trust myself on, and I let other people kind of steer me in a different direction. And I wish I could go back and just do what I wanted to do from the get-go and stick with the plan.
That's one thing too that I mean, obviously I don't want to sit here and blame other people, but at the same time, like when I first started making videos, everything was my gut.
Yeah.
My gut is instinct. What do I want to title it? What do I want to make the thumbnail? All this stuff. And then when I started to get bigger, it was like I started to value other people's opinions and see what do you think? What do you think? And then I feel like I lost my voice and kind of just started to listen to other people rather than myself.
Yeah.
And that can get you in trouble and mentally can get you in trouble too, because then you start to blame other people and you start to not take accountability, I guess, at the same time. How did you overcome those failures?
I just bounced back and started putting my head down and grinding on the things that were really positive in my life. So the agency was going really well. We were doing a lot of really fun things and working with a lot of really great people. So just went back into that world and decided to focus all of my time and effort and energy on that and grow that business and not try to do 10 million other things at once and start 10 million other companies. So that was kind of how I decided to get over that one is really just go back into what I was doing that I was really good at and that I really enjoy what we do. I think the other side projects were things that aligned well with a lot of the people that we worked with, but I don't think we were really passionate about the actual products that we were making. We were just kind of making them to make money and hoping that they would do really well. So, just getting back into things that I enjoyed and trying to stay balanced with work and friends and doing stuff to take your mind off the huge failure that just happened.
Right. I think that's important. I think it's you definitely have to weigh in on the things that you enjoy doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Because if you're not in it to be in it and you're just doing it because like that was me with my merch. It was like I started this merch just because I knew everyone was doing merch.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I got to capitalize on this while everybody else is. And I wasn't in it. Like I didn't like the designs. I didn't like the quality of the product. And it bothered me because I wasn't passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to stick to the things that you're passionate about, which is why I started my podcast. Like I like talking, I like communicating, I like hosting and my vlog and stuff. And yeah, it's important to love what you do, because why would you wake up every day and do something you don't want to do?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that translates with your audience too, right? Like if you're putting out a shitty product that you're not really happy about,
They could tell.
yeah, they can tell, and you're not really promoting it. You don't have 100% behind it because you're not fully on board and you think it's shit yourself. So why waste your time doing that? And if you're passionate about broadcasting, podcasting, hosting, it translates with the audience. They can tell, and you put together a much better product. And from there, you can grow it, and eventually the money will come, and you enjoy doing it. So you're not wasting all your time on something that sucks, that you're not really happy about, and that will probably inevitably fail anyway.
What's in the future for you? What do you have planned? What's your goal in life? How old are you now?
34.
34 years old. What's your goal? You living in Los Angeles?
Yeah, man, living in Los Angeles. Things are going actually really good. On the work side of stuff, we just launched our Vamp digital side, which is cool. We're developing mobile apps for influencers to monetize their fan base, going back to the algorithm. A lot of people and a lot of things that we've been hearing over the last couple months and year is these algorithms on these platforms are really killing my engagement, my brand deals and all this stuff. So we developed a side of our business that allows the creators to take hold of their entire audience. There's no algorithms involved. They can promote themselves. They can push out this really, amazing behind the scenes content. There's trip giveaways. There's a lot of really cool stuff integrated into these personalized apps. We just rolled out our first one 4 or 5 days ago with Charlie Jordan, who's killing it. It's doing really, really well. So we're gonna grow that side of the business, bring some more people on there. So we have some big plans on the digital side and the agency side with Vamped, and then just living a good life. Like I think one of the things that we've done with Vamped is positioned ourselves to work with really cool people that we enjoy working with, and one of the big things for us was traveling the world and seeing a lot of really amazing places and working simultaneously. And we've been able to do that over the last 4 years, and we want to continue to do that and just have fun, live our best lives.
Living my best life.
Live our best
lives. That was
man.
actually, what's crazy? Like going down to Coachella with you guys. You guys put together the trip to Coachella was just absolute. Like you guys just want everyone to have a good time and enjoy what they're doing and working. That's what I love about Vamped. But how do you manage, because a lot of your business centers around people having a good time, traveling, going out, having fun. How do you manage business in that? You know what I'm saying? How do you not get caught up in let's go get drinks tonight?
Yeah.
Oh no, I got to stay home and work on my laptop while I'm in this 5-star suite looking at fucking all of Greece. You know what I'm saying? How can you not enjoy that but sit down? How hard is that?
I know. I think for us, leading up to those trips is where 95% of the work takes place. Obviously solidifying all the contracts and setting up all the crap on the back end. So when we're on the trips, we do get to kind of unplug and take a break and have a good time. And we have a really solid team now. So we've hired a lot of really great people and have people that are working with us that are smart and can take hold of the stuff that we normally would be doing. But we've grown now so a little bit. So they're kind of doing that stuff. So I mean, just being able to understand a lot of the work's going to go into setting these trips up, like that Coachella party, man. That took me 4 months to set that thing up. It was crazy. That house was insanely expensive. We had to have 10, 15 brands come on board to cover our nut. And then we had 25 people staying in the house. It was wild. And I was stressed out actually that whole time at Coachella.
That kind of even goes back to the restaurant. You don't really know what you're getting into. Like you said, you have to pay for the rent. You have to pay you have to get these brands on board to pay to hold the event. And then you have 25 people you have to feed.
Yeah, man.
You have like a lot of responsibilities in that.
And that house, I mean, we had to book that house 3 months before just to secure it, because there's Victoria's Secret and these other huge brands coming in and picking up those houses. That house cost us $140,000 for 4 nights that we had to shell out before we had a single brand sponsor.
That's insane.
Crazy.
You could literally, and the crazy thing about Coachella, if in Palm Springs, you could buy a mansion and pay it off just from Coachella weekend.
I know.
Because brands will come in like yourself, Victoria's Secret or DJs and stuff like that, and they'll just throw cash. They'll pay your entire mortgage for like 5 years.
For 4 nights.
For 4 nights.
I know. It's wild.
It's crazy how much business Coachella brings to that community.
And I've heard a million people say, I got to buy a house here and just rent it out. And it's not only Coachella. Coachella has 2 weekends, weekend 1, weekend 2, and then Stagecoach is weekend 3. So yeah, the move would have been to pick up a lot of real estate back there 10 years ago.
What's some advice you would give to the young entrepreneur?
The young entrepreneur. I mean, the entrepreneur life is one of a lot of ups and downs, and you just have to be prepared for, a lot of shit. Failures, people telling you that it's not going to work. You hear this stuff over and over again. If you follow Gary Vee and these guys on social media, they tell it best. But I mean, if you really want to work on your own and do your own thing, you're going to have so many ups and downs. You're going to be grinding 24/7. I mean, you work all the time.
Yeah.
These guys that are in this world, in the social media world, you see them and you see these videos and these pictures that they're putting up and you're like, oh, it's so easy. But you don't see the 10 hours, 12 hours a day that they're sitting around coming up with ideas, going places, collaborating with other individuals, editing, making sure their content's good enough,
and that's something that goes back to what you said earlier, because you said, it's a lot of money that these influencers get paid, but I think they deserve it. They earn
100%,
it. Because here's how I look at it, and I've said this on the podcast before. It's like I come up with the idea, I shoot the idea, I edit the idea, I put the idea out, I promote the idea. I'm a 5-in-1. I am the NBC. Obviously, I don't have the staff, but I do all of the jobs that they do, and I do it every single day. And they're making millions and billions of dollars in advertising. So why not have a company come, like, whatever, Boohoo, and pay me thousands of dollars, which they're paying millions to be on TV. But I'm getting the same amount of viewership and I'm doing just as much work. Yeah,
and I mean, I think, the bigger brands and these people are understanding that and realizing now, because you're seeing the shift from traditional media come over into the social space. Obviously, with the algorithms and everything that's happening, that's kind of messing some things up. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I see these content creators, like the real content creators like yourself and the Hannah Stockings of the world, they work all day, every day. I mean, it's nonstop. And,
and people don't understand that. They're like, oh, I could, like you said, I could do that. It's easy.
Good luck.
They really don't grasp that it's more than a full-time job, because I like when you have a 9 to 5, you go to work from 9 to 5, you come home, you spend time with your family, you watch Netflix, whatever, then you go to work 9 to 5. Like, those are your hours. For me, it's like, okay, I'm working from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. And like, I don't really I do get free time now more so than I did when I was daily vlogging. But back when I was daily vlogging, like, it was just nonstop and it's exhausting. It's more than a 9 to 5. And even being a business owner and an entrepreneur, it's going to take more work than, working for someone else.
Way more work. And I mean, we talked about this before, but the everyday vlogging, I don't understand how you guys, I don't either. I work a lot, but I don't understand how you guys do that.
Dude, I look back at it and I'm like, how the fuck did I do this?
That's nuts. I would go insane.
I did.
I think most do at some point.
No, yeah, like a lot of us did. We're like, damn, like at some point it takes a toll on your brain, because you literally, it got to the point where I would wake up every single day and I couldn't think because I filmed a video every single day for like 300 or whatever.
Yeah.
And my creativity just went out the window. I just got comfortable. I started doing the same shit.
Yeah.
So that's when I had to like set back and say, okay, I need to take a break. I need to recharge. I need to like try to like live life and be creative.
Yeah. And with the everyday stuff too, what I see is you're putting out so much content and so many videos that you have to keep it relevant and exciting for your audience. So there's a lot of, the clickbait stuff, like my girlfriend got hit by a car or like, I got attacked by a bear today.
Yeah.
So that people are clicking on the videos. And I mean, just constantly pumping out that amount of content and editing and having, the storyboards and the people to do it with you all day long is just so time consuming and so crazy. So I totally agree with you. I mean, you do see these content creators making a lot of money, but in all honesty, I think they should probably be making more with the audience that they've commanded and built, or that they do command and have built, and are able to reach on a daily basis.
No, I agree. Crazy. And I like the steps you're making with creating personalized apps for people, because at the end of the day, like I said, like you have YouTube, you have Instagram. While they can change your life and make your life extremely great, they can also take that away from you at any point in time. If they do so happen to change algorithms, or you swear and then they demonetize your video, there's so many factors that go into it, and there's so many guidelines that you need to adhere to. So something like, it's obviously going to be way easier to build your following on a platform that everyone's using, but I think it's smart to, once you build that following on YouTube, once you build that following on Facebook, once you build that following on Instagram, to translate that into, how can I make this sustainable for myself, where I don't have to rely on these apps or these brands to pay me. And it's a really good idea to make an exclusive website. Like it's almost like Patreon. It's and people knock on Patreon. They're like, it's begging for money. It's begging your fans to pay you. But at the end of the day, I think you should get paid for the work that you do, right? And every day you're creating content for an audience that doesn't pay you, right? So none of your audience, they get to sit there and watch it for free. And I think it's important to get paid. So it's cool to bring that audience up and then translate it over. Hey guys, giving you exclusive content. Just pay like a little subscription, whatever. I don't know how you guys are working it. I definitely want to talk to you about it more after this, because it's interesting, because like I said, no one pays to see the content that we produce, right? Except brands. And then you have to watch a 15-second ad or whatever. Sure. You're not taking money out of your pocket. And I think it's really like, imagine if to subscribe to me forever, you had to pay $1. Right. So it's just $1. Yeah, sure. It could change my life. Right. You know what I'm saying? And you're not having to wait for, I mean, the brand deals are great when they come in, but who knows? You don't know. That's what I talked about on the last podcast. You don't know. You can go months with making $0. I know. And that's stressful. It's scary. And when you're pumping out that much content and putting that much time in, I mean, I really do believe you deserve to get paid if you're building an audience that is interested in what you're doing. And the app allows you to not only put, one thing that we notice too is when you're on Instagram and YouTube, you only put out certain content, right? You're only going to put out the best content, the stuff that you know is going to engage the highest with your audience to make your stats look great and grow and grow and grow. So with this, I think there's a little bit of both. You're putting out good content, but you're also able to showcase a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, a lot of the exclusive stuff that you necessarily wouldn't put on Instagram or YouTube, that allows you to engage and become a little more personal with your audience, which is cool. And I think there are a lot of people out there that understand, listen, I'm working all day long. I'm doing this stuff all day long, and I need some way to monetize other than hoping Boohoo comes and pays me, X amount of dollars this month. Right. No, yeah. I think that's really cool, guys. If you enjoyed this podcast, leave a thumbs up. Robert Graham, the ups and downs through your life. The biggest failure of all time was his opening carpet walk on The Bachelor. But you know what? You've done good since then, and I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we could be able to build a friendship. We got to hit up Vegas so we can buy Rolexes. Yeah, we tried last time. It didn't go too well. $10,000 goal for both of us. Yeah, and we both failed. So guys, do not go to Vegas with the intent to win money. Go to Vegas with the intent to lose. We'll see you guys next week on Livin Large. Deuces.